Shaun, the longtime Republican activist, he ran for House of Delegates in Fluvanna, got beat, I think, by like 20 votes. So he knows what it is to lose a close election. And he was also the executive director of the Republican Party of Virginia when there was a Republican Party of Virginia back in the day. Now he runs a blog called the Republican Standard, TRS. So he's got all kinds of things going on. And he's joining us now. It's been a while. Shaun Kenney. Welcome, Shaun.
Well, hey, thanks for having me on the show. By the way, it was a House of Delegates race in Fredericksburg, as a matter of fact. Lost it by 383 votes. Not that I'm still bitter about that. And I was chairman of the Board of Supervisors in Fluvanna. So when my name's on the ballot, I've won one and I've lost one. So maybe we got one more good run on us before we're out.
I think so, Shaun. At least I got the Fluvanna thing right. I knew that you were from Fluvanna. But yes, House of Delegates in Fredericksburg. But listen, Shaun, I got breaking news I got to start with. This is unbelievable. CNN is suing the Trump administration, demanding that Jim Acosta's press pass be restored. CNN today filing a lawsuit against the president, demanding that White House security credentials be returned to so-called correspondent Jim Acosta. The White House revoked his credentials after that testy exchange on Wednesday. Let me just read to you what, of course, I was there. Let me read to you, Shaun, what CNN said. While the suit is specific to CNN and Acosta, this could have happened to anyone, CNN said, in announcing the lawsuit, which asked for a restraining order requiring that the press pass be returned. If left unchallenged, the actions of the White House would create a dangerous, chilling effect. You know, I was there. I'm the only White House correspondent who backed Sarah Sanders' move to revoke his credentials, because I don't think there's any excuse for rude, boorish behavior, disrespectful to your colleagues, hogging microphones, pushing people out of the way. You know, we have gone through this with Acosta for a long time, and getting White House credentials, ladies and gentlemen, is a privilege. The majority of us have earned our way there through a lot of hard work. You have to get a Secret Service security clearance. It takes a while. And so it's beyond me that they would now sue the president like there's some rite of passage to be rude and disrespectful. And I hope the White House fights this lawsuit, and I don't care if it goes all the way up to the Supreme Court. At the end of the day, those that issue these credentials, that is a privilege. And if somebody is rude, or it doesn't matter what their standards are, they have the right to take them away. If CNN wins this lawsuit, now it becomes anybody can just get up there, jump on a chair, scream and holler, take microphones, run around with them, and there's no recourse. And it's just bad behavior. I mean, the guy misbehaved, and he's rude, and he's disrespectful, and he wouldn't give his microphone up. He asked like 8 questions. He's trying to debate the president. It's not his job. So I could go on with it, and I'm the only one in the White House core that has backed the president's decision. Now, having said that, joining us now, Shaun Kenney. Shaun, great to have you again.
Yeah, I can hear the passion here. So, I mean, picture this, right? Could you imagine, like, Obama tolerating Alex Jones getting up there asking him 8 or 9 questions about whether or not there's aliens in Nevada or something like that? I mean, look. The bottom line is you're in the president's living room. You don't have the right to do that. You certainly, a free press, an objective press anyway, doesn't get up there and debate the president actively on live television. As far as the rest of it goes, CNN kind of kicking down the door and demanding to be in the man's living room. Cry me a river. I don't care, and nobody else does either. This is part of the problem with the media at this rate as an institution. They want to have their cake and eat it too. They want it both ways. They want the pretense of an objective media and the Fourth Estate, and they want the pretense of being an institution, and yet they want to be able to editorialize their news. And so when conservative media behaves, as we see the liberal media do, they jump up and down and they call it fake news and they say it's slanted, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact of the matter is that Jim Acosta on live television is giving everybody a tour de force in what Americans hate about the media as an institution. And I'm not talking hate in terms of a metaphorical sense. I think we're all really, really tired of the media editorializing our news and then presenting it to us as objective. We know that's not the case. We know that that's not how this works. And yet they seem to believe that somehow they're this institution that has a guaranteed right to be in front of the president and interrogate him like that, when they would never tolerate that if it was Obama or Clinton or pick your poison in the White House. They'd never tolerate it was their candidate, but they can sure as heck do it to Republicans. And I think most folks are tired of it. It's over.
I think they're totally tired of it, and I agree with you 100%. And I don't know, the left is in this mindset now, Shaun, where anything they don't like, they file a suit, and they'll shop it to the right district, and they'll find some judge somewhere. I mean, some judge is going to reinstate this immediately.
Sure. Ninth Circuit, Fourth Circuit, take your pick. But here's it's kind of a if we need a wake up call to find out how bad it is, here it comes, right? I mean, you've got the media as an institution is jumping up and down. You've got a coterie of judges and lawyers who are going to serve this purpose and be their foil. You've got a television media that's going to back this up. You've got intelligentsia that's going to back this up. You don't have parallel institutions on the right to combat this. We have a few, right? We have the notable Mr. John Fredericks. Mm-hmm. You've got a couple of news organizations like Fox and perhaps some authentically objective media like Axios. But then for the rest of it, I mean, it's not like there's a series of Republican talking heads out there that are going to combat this. It's not as if thank God we've got a Supreme Court that actually leans a little bit to the right. I think that's yet to be demonstrated, but we're really behind on this. I mean, think of it, if it was the other way around, could the Republicans actually push this kind of narrative through? The answer is no. And that's how far behind we are. And if we don't start taking this a little bit more serious than what we have, I mean, I think right now it's been a bit of a game. I think we all get a good laugh when Trump just, tells Jim Acosta he's fake news. But when they start kicking down the door and demand a seat at the table where they've never earned it, and you're absolutely right, it is a privilege to be in the president's living room and sit there and take questions. It's not a right. But when they start kicking down the door and it starts becoming a little less funny, I think that's when people need to start looking around and seeing things, whether it's Trump and Acosta, whether it's the way that Feinstein treated Justice Kavanaugh, whether it's the way that we seem to be in an endless recount in Florida until the votes just go a certain way. They're playing for keeps over there, and it's serious to them. And I think that at some point in time we need to treat this with the appropriate amount of sobriety and seriousness and say, look, they're coming for us, and they may even have a head start on us.
Well, it's outrageous. This lawsuit is going to go all the way up, and it is eventually going to get rolled at the top, because I can tell you that they shop these things now. Some judge is going to have them reinstated, which is outrageous, because that opens the door up. Now anybody can just go in there and do anything. April Ryan can scream questions out and rant and rave, and you can't do anything about it because now you're protected. Somehow you're protected. The next lawsuit is going to be, why did they decide who to give credentials to? Anybody with any outlet should be able to get them. I mean, that's where this thing it becomes outrageous.
What they'll do is they'll ask for the White House press correspondents. They'll be the ones to go ahead and issue them. Kind of like the way that's actually how it works in Virginia, as a matter of fact. I mean, the Speaker goes ahead and issues them, but the people who determine who is and who is not the press are the press. And so I guarantee you the White House correspondents would love nothing better than to have it in their hands to determine who is and who is not. And you know what happens next, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
CNN and the Washington Post and the New York Times, they're the ones who get to ask questions. But, if it's conservative-leaning publications, whether it's The Economist or Axios or even Politico sometimes, yourself, Fox News, they'll be benched. And I mean, that's where it's heading. That's what they want. They're not interested in a free media. They're interested in a media that drives home a narrative, and that's not what a media, by definition, is supposed to achieve. You saw Hillary Clinton call for the end of civility in the United States. I mean, I think we've always respected the media as an institution that sort of preserved that in the public square, and we're seeing that go. It's one thing to hold a perspective and push that honestly in the public square. It's something else to have the pretense of objectivity and then play the Jim Acosta and beat down the door when you know he's driving home a political, partisan message, and he's weaponizing it, using the courts to get that message across. That's wrong. And unless we start calling it wrong, and vociferously, not just sighing and then moving on to the next news of the day, we're going to lose a lot of what we think is America in that process, and that's just not a good place to be.
You are so right, Shaun. You are so right. Shaun Kenney with us, former executive director, Republican Party of Virginia. Shaun, let's shift gears. Once upon a time, there was a Republican Party of Virginia. In my view, it no longer exists. It's now relegated. It's basically an answering machine and a postal permit masquerading as a major political party in a state this size. The election results on Tuesday were disaster, losing the only 3 seats that they could possibly lose. There was really nothing that I could see that came out of the Republican Party of Virginia, losing 2, 7, and 10. And now you're going into 2019. There's probably 4 Senate seats that are at risk. If I had to bet right now, I'd bet the Republicans would lose all of them. There's probably 5 House seats at risk. If you look at trends, they're going to lose them all. And it's like the Democrats have wiped everybody out, and there's no opposition. I mean, it's basically the firewall is now Kirk Cox. I guess Tommy Norma to a certain extent when you go east of Fredericksburg. What happens now?
So here's the raw math, right? Of the House of Delegate seats, and there's 100 of them in the Commonwealth. Only 39 of them voted for Corey Stewart. So treat that as your theoretical minimum, right? If it's just an absolute bloodbath in 2019, that's the lowest that we can go, which means that we need another 11 seats in order to get a majority. Where do you find those? Well, the answer to that really is we don't know quite yet because we're still in redistricting right now. We have a California judge that's going to deliver lines at some point, probably in the first part of December. And then it'll be Speaker Cox that has to challenge those lines in courts. Maybe that draws out. Maybe it doesn't. We don't know yet. But in those new lines, we're going to have to determine which seats we defend and which ones we try to take back. Now, we knew we lost 15 seats in 2017 in the first suburban tsunami, but we really haven't seen any sort of response to it quite yet, if last Tuesday's elections were any indicator, right? I mean, we lost 3 seats in suburban districts, one of them being the 7th District with Dave Bratt against Abigail Spanberger, in a district that was designed to hold a Speaker of the House. Mm-hmm. So do we have our work cut out for us? Absolutely. So there's the bad news overall. When you talk about the condition of the Republican Party of Virginia, it's not in its best health. Let's be very honest about this. I think our grassroots structure, needs help. We've ignored it for some time. I think State Central has become a bit more of a talking shop, and I think that they're aware of this as well. And I think they're cognizant of the problem. They just don't know how to fix it. The good news is that the one person that I think really does understand the problem is Jack Wilson, who's the current chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia. He sees this for what it is. He came up through the party ranks. He served as a unit chair. He served as a district chair. He knows what RPV does and doesn't do, and he knows what we don't do well. So I'm optimistic that he's aware of the problem. I think that the real solution is going to be one of resources, and RPV is very thin on that right now because you're right. It's really devolved down to a postal. It's a post office at this rate. They approve the mail, they get it out. So the question really remains is for those of us who still believe in the cause, who still believe in conservative values, who still think that Virginia, at the end of the day, is still that same red state that got Ken Cuccinelli, Bill Bowling, and Bob McDonnell elected, is whether or not our values are worth fighting for in the same way that the Democrats believe their values are worth fighting for. Today, I'm not so sure that we've really gotten that message. I know that there are activists out there that pour their heart and soul into the party, but we need more of us. We need to start bringing friends to unit committees. We need to start looking at the Republican Party of Virginia and start actually, donating to it again. But we're not there yet, and I think what most folks are looking for is a plan and a way forward. But bear this out, though. If we lose the House of Delegates this year, if the Republicans forfeit the House of Delegates due to infighting or squabbling or any of these other things, the Democrats will have control of the Senate, they will have control of the House, and they will have a governor friendly to their message. That means that will send us straight back to the bird machine. It will be a 60-40 Democratic House of Delegates. It'll be the same sort of Democratic drawn House lines that we have today, and it will set us back for a generation in Virginia if we don't get our act together within the next 3 to 6 months. That's how critical it is. That's how much time we have. We don't have much. Some of us have been ringing that bell for a long time. But we either get it together now and start defending what we believe, or the Democrats are going to make us pay for it for the next 2 decades. That's the message we need to get out there. And quite frankly, we don't have much time to squabble over. It just needs to get done.
Well, there's very little time. I mean, there's a bunch of primaries coming up that'll start in February or March. Shaun, the bottom line, though, is you said something interesting. 39 House districts were carried by Corey Stewart, right?
Correct.
So that means 39 were carried by Stewart, 61, right? Was that 61 carried by Kane? I mean, that is the starting point, right? You just can't get more bottom than that. That is bottom of the bottom of all bottoms.
Exactly.
But you look at the Senate and the state Senate, and there's 4 seats that are at risk. Reeves, Wagner, who might retire, which would be a tremendous blow. I don't think they hold that seat if he retires. Wagner, Shaun Donovan, Black. Well, actually 5. Dick Black, Sturdivant, Wagner, and Siobhan Donovan and Reeves. So you've got 5 seats at risk. The Democrats don't have any at risk, and all they need to do is win one of those 5 and they gain control. I don't see the math here.
Yeah, let's be honest. I mean, the math just really isn't there. However, all pendulums swing, right? I mean, let's say that it's off in grand fashion. Let's say that Dick Black knows how to defend his own keep. He's certainly done well before. Donovan also is a very good match for her district. Glenn Sturdivant is a great American. If you ever have the chance to meet him, you'll understand why he wins elections. You go out to Frank Wagner. I think Frank Wagner sees the stakes. I mean, look, a lot of Republicans disagree with him on one vote or another. The bottom line is that Frank's always been a team player. I've always known him as a team player. There's a certain sense of public service. This is not something he needs to do. It's something he wants to do. So hypothetically, all 5 of these guys know how to defend their districts, know how to represent them well. Don't count any of them out, but I think we all need to understand that it's uphill running. One thing about these primary races that may or may not be coming up in the near future, bear this one out. Every dime we spend against a Republican is a dime spent against a Republican. The Democrats would love nothing more than for us to tear ourselves apart and burn resources convincing Republicans why they shouldn't vote for Republicans and then head into a general election with a divided electorate. That's something where I think that cooler heads need to prevail. We need to set down those spears. Let's have that argument when we have a majority that's safe. Let's not threaten a majority with internal squabbling and then come back and actually realize all of the Democrats' dreams. I mean, again, every dime we spend against a Republican is a dime spent against a Republican, and it might as well just come from the hands of Nancy Pelosi herself. Let's figure that one out very quickly, and let's not take that kind of bait, because I know people are upset about Medicaid expansion. I know people are upset about the deals that were cut. They should be much more alarmed at the prospect of redistricting, and they should be much more alarmed at the prospect of Ralph Northam with a Democratic General Assembly redrawing our lines and carving out some of the very Republicans that we're trying to support at the end of the day. It's a trap. Don't do it.
Well said. Wagner, Vogel, these are people that if they don't run, all these seats are at risk. Doesn't make any sense. You got to look at the bigger picture. I'm out of time. I want to thank Shaun Kenney for being with us. Shaun, your new blog, your website, what is it?
It's the Republican Standard. It's actually been up and running for about a year. It's already the largest conservative digital media source in the Commonwealth. It's the Republican Standard.